Hey, it's JankyJolteon. As I've mentioned before I started my reaction channel, I had already heard 99% of Ren's music. I started the channel just in time for his drop season, so we've been covering all of his new stuff. But I do think there is a lot of older work that is absolutely phenomenal and deserves to go over, even if it's not new to me. I figured a good place to start this would be with his spoken poetry. I feel like his songs Meaning and Insomnia both give you a very good glimpse into his mind to see where a lot of his perspective comes from on a lot of his other music. So, with that in mind, let's begin with Meaning.
The meaning of this life can change. It's just how you observe it. Like you can't stop a wave, but you can learn to surf it.
I like that. So, the meaning of life can change because life's changing every second. If you try to force yourself to follow a path, you're gonna keep getting kicked in the shins. It's not gonna go right. But if you just kind of take it like a wave, just go the direction you're pushed and do the best you can with that, you're probably gonna end up where you're supposed to be, anyways.
So it's all down to interpretation. Remember, one man changed the laws of physics with a three-letter equation, so I take that same principle and I apply it to life.
You know, we could learn something tomorrow that could change the course of history. And everyone that is making plans based on the right now, that could be completely upside down. One man's equation changed the course of human history. Without what we learned from E equals MC square, is what I'm assuming he's talking about, we wouldn't be nearly as far as we are now. Or I'm sure plenty of other people would have come up with it by now. But regardless, we could learn something at any point that just changes us. So we just gotta kind of take it day by day and see where it goes from there.
For every moment's an opportunity in a different disguise. To be aware of your potential, that is to open our eyes. The only force that works against us is the ticking of time, but I accept mine. I stare death in the face, I take hold of his bony fingers, I hold death in embrace. For to accept death, that is to be free from fear, and we can fill the gap with love and time just seems to disappear.
As someone who's experienced a near-death experience, there's a lot of weight in that. Once you've stared death in the face and you come out of it, life really looks a little bit different. And I know that sounds really cliche, but that's because it's not really a unique experience to almost die and not die. But, what is unique is the perspective that you get from just surviving that kind of situation. Really makes you look at things a lot different. Time's the only thing working against us. So I think you got to do the best you can in the time you have. And if you don't know what kind of time you have, like most everyone, I'd assume, then maybe just work on the day-to-day of being the best you can be.
For what is the use working a 9 to 5 job, trying to build some sort of status for ourselves before our time is up, if when we get there we feel the same as we did from the start? Material wealth will never quench a thirsty heart. We spend so much time searching for the meaning of our existence that sometimes we forget to just exist through sheer persistence. Buddhist monks will spend days in deep meditation, and saints will contemplate God and all of his creations. Scientists will try to summarize with an equation. Consumerists, they'll try to buy the ticket to salvation. Well,
And I love that part so much. Everyone's got their own way to go about it, their own viewpoint, their own religion, their own personal sense of purpose. But the thing is, they are all basically going down the same path to the same end result. You take the day as it goes, you learn from it, you do better, and it pushes you closer to what your purpose is. And I think it's interesting that whether it's science, religion, or just trying to improve yourself, it all kind of boils down to the same thing there, and people are too busy fighting about that to realize that they really just have the same mission.
this is my theory. This is my school of thought. The meaning of life is much easier than once thought. I think that the meaning of life is to simply live. And if I am wrong, then Lord please forgive, but it seems so simple that it's obvious. It makes me want to shout out that the meaning of life is this moment, this second, right here, right now.
Like I said, I love his lyrics. Just the way he words things, the way he gets you to think about certain topics is just phenomenal. So with that in mind, This song was released 9 years ago on his Freckled Angels album. But, so knowing his story, he's gone through a lot in that time frame. But what I really like is, if we go on to the next video, back when he was still in Trick the Fox, he clearly came up with the same thing ahead of time. And just seeing how he hasn't really changed much since that, as far as his outlook on this, is really just kind of beautiful to see Baby Ren talking about the same thing. So I'll shut up for this one since it's the same lyrics as what I was just going over.
I wrote a poem like last year, and I never do poems, so I'm going to do a poem over some guitar chords. The meaning of this life can change. It's just how you observe it. Like you can't stop a wave, but you can learn to surf it, so it's all down to...
Okay, I do want to point out, I've had this haircut for much longer than I've even heard of Ren. When I met him at New York Fashion Week, we happened to have roughly the same haircut, and I just want it to be clear, I didn't copy him. I'm not sure who did it first, but I definitely did it without being weirdly obsessed fangirl. This is my hair. And then today, since I'm growing out my hair, it's doing this Justin Bieber thing today, and oops, I guess I'm copying him for a video again.
To interpretation. Remember, one man changed the laws of physics with a 3-letter equation, and so I take this principle and I apply that to life. For every moment's an opportunity dressed in a different disguise. To be aware of our potential, that is to open our eyes. The only force that works against us is the ticking of time, but I accept mine. I stare death in the face, I take hold of his bony fingers, I hold death and embrace, for to accept death is to be free from fear, and we can fill the gap with love, and time just seems to disappear. For what is the use working a 9-to-5 job, trying to build some sort of status for ourselves before our time is up, if when we get there we feel the same as we did from the start? Material wealth will never quench a thirsty heart. We spend so much time searching for the meaning of our existence that sometimes we forget to just exist through sheer persistence. Buddhist monks will spend years in deep meditation, and saints will contemplate God and all of his creations. Scientists will try to summarise with an equation. Consumerists will try to buy the ticket to salvation. Well, this is my theory. This is my school of thought. The meaning of life is much easier than once thought. You want to know what it is? Yeah? Well, my theory is the meaning of life, it is to simply live. And if I am wrong, then Lord please forgive, but it seems so simple, it's obvious, it makes me want to shout out that the meaning of life is this second, this moment, right here, right now.
With meaning in mind, I'd like to point out that before Ren was super famous, he was still battling this mystery illness that he didn't know was Lyme at the time. You know, like me, he received a series of misdiagnoses, rise and fall in hope as some treatments helped, some didn't. But at this point, he's going on different video blogs and he's begging people, work together, we could find a cure if we try hard enough. And just seeing him come full circle to walking at New York Fashion Week a few months ago was just honestly the most inspiring thing ever. I mean, I've got chills just from talking about it. But I just want to point out, I can't speak for what he thinks his purpose is, but if that happens to be it, I think he's doing a pretty good job of that.
Hi, my name's Ren, I'm 26, and I suffer from Lyme disease and ME. And this is Lyme Disease and ME Awareness Month, so I thought I'd start making videos again. I used to, and I stopped because I got too depressed with how little progress I was making, but you know what? I want to be part of the wave of change, because it desperately needs change, man. When there's a cure, it'll be a cure for everybody. And what we need to do is we need to rally and we need to join as people, as a group, as a collective. And this isn't just sick people, healthy people that know people that are suffering. You owe it to your loved ones to band together. Needs to be a movement if we're to overcome this.
But now you're going to walk the runway for this. So what's going on?
Side quest, man. I feel like it's really, well, these guys approached me. Normally I wouldn't do stuff like this, but they approached me and I thought it was a real important cause to get behind because it's something that massively impacted my life for years. I mean, I didn't think I'd live to be this.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Boy,
Next up is Insomnia. I think that this one is a very good example of another peek into Ren's mind. While meaning is very uplifting and encouraging, Insomnia is very real. From the mind of someone else with ADHD, it is a blessing and a curse. And whether it's a blessing or a curse depends on how you handle it, and how you handle it really does depend on the day. So while it feels like it's something that's sinking you one day, it is something that's making you soar the next day. And it's a little bit of emotional parkour, honestly, when you're such an overthinker. But the thing is, the overthinking doesn't stop. You just need to learn how to move with it. So I do think that this song is a beautiful way to put it towards.
What is it all for? I've asked myself that question so many times now, it's become more worn than my Reebok classics. I'm a slave to frivolous habits. Of introspection without any destination, ruminating thoughts in constant rotation. Is this what it means to be conscious? To constantly question our conscious? Despite
To be conscious is to constantly question our conscious. That is just beautiful lyricism. I know there's really not much musically going on here, it's more spoken poetry, but I love it. Just his use of words, his large vocabulary, and I swear it's like a magical ability to just form the words together just the right way. As an author, and I've always been into poetry, I have a deep love of that, but zero musical inclination. So my focus has always been on the words with good music following it being an accent, but all of Ren's stuff is just talented across the board, even if there's not a lot of instrumental going on.
underneath, fall on my back horizontally. Under my bed there are monsters that visit me when I try to sleep. They're those thoughts that play on repeat, that say, Ren, you're always gonna suffer, Ren. You're always gonna suffer.
And that's how it is. I'll sit there staring at the ceiling for 4 hours before I even fall asleep, and the whole time it just feels like this spiral of thoughts. But good, bad, doesn't matter. It depends on how the day went. But, sometimes it's just, is this how it's always going to be? I'm going to wake up in the morning exhausted, and my mind's still not going to shut up during that whole process. So what's it for? Is this just the suffering that comes with being conscious?
I boomerang between optimism and pessimism so much that my sanctuary could be a prison. What blinds me could give me vision, and what finds me is this indecision of what to do with these questions.
I think that sounds a lot more beautiful than my description of emotional parkour, but same concept.
Is there purpose? Is there God? And if there is God, then God...
Don't even get me started on the religion question. I've delved down a very similar path as Ren, as far as experimenting in a little bit of everything. I grew up one way and received some trauma from the situation I was in, and I have a big aversion to parts of religion, but I have ultimate respect for spirituality and the eclectic representation across people and across time. That entire bookshelf is ancient religions and mythology. So it's been a constant question on my mind, too.
Why do I feel like this, God? Are we not sculpted in your image? And if so, do you feel that pain? Unrelinquishing pain, like my brain got put under a Bunsen burner and torched until the membranes became flame. I hate not sleeping. I like the weekend because other people don't sleep either. Mindless TV shows irritate me, but they're my messiah, because I can become brain dead, wasted, lost in trails of dry
When you've got those constantly rotating thoughts, media is a huge thing that kind of helps. And I'm not sure help is the word. It distracts you enough. So if your mind's just not in a good place, focusing on a TV show where something else dramatic's going on that has nothing to do with you, it's a bit of a way to stay sane, in my opinion. I have a lot of comfort shows that just replay and replay, and I know how they end, and I really think that's a part of what makes them easier for me to watch when I'm stressed out.
Live. But I'm a survivor, a child of destiny. But this night has been testing me. Question the mess that's progressing, undressing me, stripping me naked and stuffing the stress in me. I used to use drinking as a way to stop thinking, and my problems with drinking made me feel like I was sinking. So I dried up my drinking and I couldn't sleep a wink. And now I'm thinking, now I'm thinking, now I'm thinking, now I'm thinking about nothing. Fucking nothing and everything and nothing.
Okay, so that kind of goes back to, I was on a lot of different medication trials as they were trying to figure out what was medically wrong with me. See my video Mystery Diagnosis for more context. But among those, there were drugs that absolutely shut off my mind. And in the moment, it seemed a little better. When your mind never shuts up, just a moment of relief is awesome. I mean, I struggle to even meditate because the closest I could do is slow my brain down to 3 chaotic thoughts instead of 30. It doesn't really feel like meditating at that point. But, I just had a brain fart, god damn
it. I hate not sleeping. So I lie here, trying to count sheep and their bleating's repeating. My bleeding heart is beating and beating, eating. My sleep is depleting, pleading for healing is fleeting. Longing for sleep is so deep, it's peaking. I weep in these sheets, it's doubling, doubly troubled, it's ugly, bleak, it's so bleak, it's so bleak. And I lost my mind on a line. I hate not sleeping. I hate not sleeping.
But during that time that I was on that medication and it numbed my mind, at the time I didn't think much of it except for everything was repetitive and dull and pointless. But when I got off of it and my normal brain power just kind of returned to me, I now realize I don't think I'd trade that for anything. My mind is loud and chaotic and it stresses me out more often than it helps me, I think. But at the end of the day, I feel like a lot of who I am is tied into the way my brain works, and I lost that when I was on the medication, and for that to just come flooding back was kind of surreal. Thank you guys for watching. This is the first video in a series of song analysis I'm going to do for Ren's music, specifically on songs that resonate with me on a deep level because of my own really similar experiences. I appreciate you guys watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and also subscribe to Ren at Ren Makes Music. I'll see you guys next time.